So now let's look into section 4. In 1215, a group of nobles decided to force the king to respect their rights. In the middle of a field called Runnymede, they made King John approve the Magna Carta, which they had written. The Magna Carta, which is Latin for Great Charter, listed rights the king couldn't ignore. These are things that they believe we were born with these rights, and it doesn't matter what people in government there are, they cannot take these rights away. And it's a lot of the basis for what we believe is our rights today. It's given to us by the Constitution. The Magna Carta required the king to honor certain rights, such as the writ of habeas corpus, which means you can't be put in jail for no reason. You got to be told why you're being arrested. They had to be charged with a crime and convicted by a jury before sent to prison. A jury trial, if you're, and we may not cover this in civics if you were in my class last year because of COVID, but a jury trial is one of the rights that we have. It's something that can't be taken away. Most importantly, it said everyone, including the king, had to obey the law. Everybody's equal in the eyes of the law. These are just some points made in the Magna Carta. To all free men of our kingdom, we have also granted for us and our heirs forever all the liberties written out below, to have and to keep them and their heirs of us and our heirs. Neither we nor royal official will take wood for our castle or for any other purpose without consent or the permission of the owner. And that's a big deal. The person that owns the property should tell you if you can take their stuff or not. In the future, no official shall place a man on trial upon his own unsupported statement without producing credible witnesses to the truth. So you've got to have reason to put somebody on trial. The Magna Carta showed the nobles that the king's power could be limited. A council was established to advise the king called Parliament, which is the lawmaking body in the United Kingdom, and it's still that way today. Over the years, Parliament expanded to include knights and town leaders, and today the monarchy's power is limited because of Parliament, because it's the representative form of their government. The English continued to work to secure and protect their rights, and the people believed that if the king continued to choose judges, they would continue to side with him. In the late 1600s, the king freed the courts from his control. So basically, the king picked the judges, who would decide these things. A lot of these places have magistrates. And the people was like, look, if the king is going to pick these people, they're going to be loyal to him. This created a separate judiciary, which was king in establishing democracy in England. Even though the Magna Carta played an important role in England, it had no effect in other parts of Europe where the king still had full control. In France, for instance, the king died in 1328 with no heirs, so two men claimed the throne. One man was French, the other was English. The French became king, and this made the king of England mad. It was believed that the one from England was supposed to be over the English and the French thrones, and the French king believed that he was supposed to be over the French throne. The English king invaded France, leading to what's known as the 100-Year War, which was a conflict between England and France. And although the English won all the battles, Joan of Arc, who was the girl that rallied the French troops, helped inspire the French to win. So the English won almost all the battles, but the French wound up winning the war. And that was because of Joan of Arc, which was a teenage girl that basically said that she received a vision that God told her she was going to help lead them to victory. She wound up being burned at the stake for what they called heresy for those beliefs. The 100 Years' War changed the political landscape in both England and France. In England, Parliament gained power because the king needed Parliament to raise money for the war. You got to pay for the war once it's over. In France, the king gained more power because they gained support from the nobles, which will continue after the war. Let's talk just briefly about the Black Death, which was a deadly plague that swept through Europe between 1347 and 1351. In 1347, the plague originated from Central and Eastern Asia and was spread by infected fleas on rats. As the fleas would feast on the blood of infected rats, they would then bite humans, and they would pass the infection on to humans, because you may not know this, but when fleas bite you, they actually kind of throw up inside of you, and it's really nasty. But what would happen, these rats were infected, the fleas would suck the blood out of it, it would infect them, then they would regurgitate into the skin of humans, which would pass that disease from the rats on to the humans. There was a number of diseases that was spread through this time, one being the bubonic plague, which would create buboes or swellings, just kind of swellings on the skin. This disease killed so many people that they were buried without a burial ceremony. And to bury someone in a non-Christian burial was seen as a very terrible thing. And so they were just digging holes and throwing bodies in because it was so bad, burning corpses and things like that. In England alone, 1,000 villages were abandoned completely. It is believed 25 million people died during this time, and Europe lost a third to a half of its population. In most places, the manor system fell apart because there weren't enough people to work the fields because everybody was sick. And the ones that weren't sick were taking care of the sick people. This led to Europe's growing cities as people left the countryside. And that brings us to the end of section 4.